Hi everyone, how's it going? We don't have any microphones today because my microphone needs charging, so I'm just charging that bad boy up whilst I'm going to talk to you about Wicked for Good. Now, I am going to talk about some gang stalking here. It's not going to be the majority of what I talk about in terms of my connection to Wicked for Good. It's not going to be the majority of the conversation. I'm actually going to be talking about the movie itself, what it signifies. I might talk about, the emotional manipulation that seems to be surrounding the marketing of the movie and how the movie is. Yeah, I will get into that a little bit, but this video is primarily going to be about Wicked the movie, right? But before I get into that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys an update on my gang stalking experiences. So the most recent incident that happened was today. There was the same drunken dickhead outside yelling "pack it in" out the window. And the reason why I called him a dickhead is because the first time he did that shit, I was singing. And I'd actually been singing like quite a bit. And after I stopped singing, that's when he started taunting "pack it in" for no reason, right? Well, it was for a reason. He said he didn't want to hear me singing. Okay, so this same person yelled "pack it in" at nothing. Because I'd just come out the shower and it was quiet. It was quiet. Nobody was making any noise. And yet this drunk asshole yells "pack it in" out the window, like just out of nowhere. So I basically yelled back, "Shut the fuck up." But then I went further and I started cussing, and my only regret is that I didn't open the window, let him see my face and let him have it. Because one thing about gang stalkers that they always do is that they make sure that when they taunt you, you can't see them. So if you can't see them, they could be talking to anybody. It gives them deniability. If you can't see them, even if they make reference to your physical appearance, to you as a person, if they are doing it behind a wall or a door and you can't actually see them do it, it gives them deniability. It's a mind game. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what I do regret is that when this person started shouting, I didn't immediately open the window and let him have it. Should have let him have it. Should have emptied the clip. That's what the fuck I should have done. But instead, I said, "Shut the fuck up." And I started cussing him with the window closed. Wrong move. If you're going to cuss somebody out, see their face and make sure they see yours. Add the human element to the equation. Don't let them get away with it. Don't let them get away with parasocial, parasocial terrorizing of you. Don't let them get away with that. So that's the first incident. That's the most recent incident that happened today after my shower. A guy yelling out "pack it in" at nothing because he wanted to get a rise out of me. Okay. And I think there was also some other drunk woman talking shit as well. I don't know. But yeah, that was the most recent incident that happened today, that happened this afternoon. The second most recent incident was on Friday when I went to see Wicked for Good. I don't normally go out. I told myself I was going to see the movie, and I'm fucking glad I did, and I'll get into why in a minute. I told myself I was going to see that movie, and as I was coming out the door and going up the alleyway path that you see me go down in one of my videos, the guy from the cake shop, I don't usually talk to him. We don't talk to each other. The guy from the cake shop came out, said hello to me. I said hi back. Now, I don't normally talk to him, and he doesn't normally talk to me. So I think him saying hello to me was meant to trigger me or something, and me saying hi back was meant to make me feel some type of way, because I've talked before about middle-aged white men saying hi to me out of nowhere with a stupid smirk on their face and me feeling compelled to say hi back. That's an NLP technique that they do. They come at you quick, so you instinctively come up with an answer back. It's an NLP technique. It's a mind game technique that certain perps have been employing, right? So And it's also a form of boundary crashing, because I don't like to talk to perps and I don't like to address them. So that's a form of boundary crashing. And again, it's not just white people doing it. It's not just white men doing it. It's boundary crashing is something that gang stalking does all the time. So this is another example of that. You know damn well, both you and the woman who works at the cake shop have been siding with racists that have been terrorizing me for 4 years. I'm pretty sure even one of you gave them the Brillo pad line for the Logan family to use on me online. Anyway, this middle-aged guy says hi to me. I say hi back. I was supposed to be triggered by that. I'm not. And I wait for my Uber cab at the usual place to go to the cinema because I was already late. And I was in the car. So like, I was in the car coming, and as the cab came out, the cab drove past the alleyway that led to my flat, right? And as the car was driving past, there was the guy from the cake shop coming from around the corner with this bigger white dude with fuller hair, a black sweatshirt, black jeans, black everything, right? And that was another psyop because it was mimicking an outfit that I wore to a previous event on Thursday. So the thing with the cake shop guy saying hi to me and saying hi back, and me seeing that same guy coming from around the corner from where my flat is, talking to this fully, big haired person wearing all black, that happened on Friday, right? That was a psyop. The most significant incident before that was on Thursday, the 20th of November. That was the day of the new moon, right? And I had an event to go to. So what happened was I actually I didn't know this. I didn't know this, by the way. Because the cab was already outside and I couldn't find my keys, I was having what was deemed to be an autistic crash out. I had no idea that that's what that was, right? I had no idea it was an autistic crash out, but yes, I was looking for my keys. The Uber was outside already. I was getting really fucking stressed, right? So found my keys after like screaming my head off, cussing out gang stalking, and like cussing people out for tormenting me. And then I got downstairs, got in a car, and as I got downstairs and got in a car, I had my hair out in my afro. And yeah, I was wearing a similar outfit, dressed all in black, because that's all I have really. Dressed all in black, afro out, hoops in, yeah? So I had all that going on with my hoops in. Went into the cab and sat down in the cab. And me and the Uber driver were really like chatting it up, and it was a lovely conversation. And as the cab was driving off, where I was sitting was like, imagine I'm in the cab. Imagine this is the cab. To the right of me, there's like a bench right in front of me, and a female perp comes and sits right down in front of me with a camera in front of my face, in front of where the directly opposite my window where the camera is, right? That was meant to antagonize me because I'd already had an autistic crash out when I was here in the flat. So now that I was moving out of the flat, the idea was for me to be triggered by this person who was just sitting there and having a camera out. It was supposed to annoy me, but I was annoyed, but it wasn't because there was a perp there. It was because it was like, really, this is just pathetic. But I wasn't really that angry or upset like that. It was just something like, bro, I was having a crash out over something completely separate. Just because like I have a crash out over something separate, it doesn't mean I'm going to crash out with every single person. Again, gang stalking has been following me for 2 fucking decades. And they still don't understand how this shit works. They still don't get it. And they still don't get that by this point, I have learned at least some control over my emotions. It's the reason why they've been stepping up their fucking, psychological abuse, because they know that I've been, the gang stalkers all know, and they've known for the past couple of decades, that I have learned along the way to control my emotions. So it's just annoying. I was like, what's that supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The fuck's that supposed to do? The hell out my face, man. Shut up. No, it was stupid. It was ridiculous. So bear in mind, the 3 incidents that I've just told you are the ones that I've noticed, and they're relatively minor. They're not really huge. I do get electronic weaponry on my leg. I've been getting it on my leg, and I get it on my chest, especially when I go to sleep. But that's the worst stuff that I actually get. The worst stuff that I get now is electronic torture. I'm getting older, so the psyops are not going to work the same way that they used to. They work on younger people because younger people tend to have less emotional regulation, especially when they're like me and they're neurodivergent, right? So I'm getting older. So the worst thing for me is always going to be the electronic weaponry. It is not going to be the psyops. It's not going to be what people say, like all that type of stuff. It's always going to be the electronic weapons. That's always going to be the worst torture, especially as you get older. So those are the incidents that I have to tell you about. They're really minor. But again, the point of gang stalking is to use details for their gang stalking, to play games with your mind, to either make you afraid or fearful. Remember what the blueprint of gang stalking is. It is fear and it is anger, because both of those emotions they take a lot of energy to emit. And the more energy that you emit, especially in a cold environment, the easier you are to track for these electronic weapons that are being fired at you. That is the point of this. It's not just to, it's not just to make your life a misery, although there's a lot of appeal in that for people. It is to make the weapons easier to track. That's the whole point of all of this. Okay, so those are the most recent examples of gang stalking, the psychological aspect anyway. They're really quite minor, but, coming out of my flat wearing my clothes, the high thing, all of that was meant to test the waters and see where I was emotionally in terms of triggers and how I would respond to them, right? So, yeah, and they know that the gang stalkers know that I'm not as heated and I'm not as emotionally dysregulated as I've been. Truth be told, it's age that's making me less emotionally dysregulated. And it's also me kind of finding my own voice that's making me less emotionally dysregulated as well. So it's like the gang stalkers, the last 3 days have been kind of testing the water, seeing what triggers me. And I think they're starting to realize that the more I'm caught up in extreme emotions is the less likely I am to be antagonized by psychological mind games of gang stalkers. Do you understand what I mean? So those are my most recent incidents. I forgot the other one. This was after I came home from seeing the film, right? This was after I came home from seeing the film. The most bizarre shit took place. So what happened is that I came home after the movie, washed some clothes, all good, right? This family comes back about an hour later or something. Next thing I know, the names of one of the kids are being screamed from every corner of the house. So it started out with the kid's name being screamed out the back there. Then it was at the side where the alleyway is. Then it was outside where the shops were. I don't know if it was the kid themselves screaming it from outside. I know that upstairs, like, you know, that wherever the shouting was, upstairs were following the shouting. So it might have been shouting it from upstairs out the window, right? And on top of that, I think, you know, whoever was screaming it, they were definitely a child, but I think they were thickening their voice to sound like me. And I'm thinking, why the fuck am I going to scream a kid's name out the fucking window? I've been knowing your names for 4 years. Like, again, this family, they're not discreet. They're loud as fuck and they're attention seeking. So I know their names already. I've been knowing their names like fucking a couple of months after they've moved in. It's been 4 years. So why am I suddenly going to change tack and start screaming people's names out the window? Like, I know like the Logans do that shit. I mean, they've done it once, but I mean, the mum's done it once. It's screaming my name, Fabienne Deacon. Tried to get a rise out of me. She's not the only one who's done that. There are other perps who have done that. But like, why am I going to scream out a kid's name? Why am I going to do that? Why am I going to dox a kid? This doesn't make any sense. Another psyop. Another mind game. But again, because I can't see anybody, that's what gives them plausible deniability, because I can't see their faces. That's why these people are fucking butter. Because if you can't see their faces, again, it gives these people deniability. But I know a psyop when I hear one. How the fuck are you going to thicken your voice and try to scream your own name out? Or have one of your friends scream your name from every corner of the fucking flat? Like, I seriously? What even is that? That's crazy. And bear in mind, I've been at home for an hour. These children, this family had been in, I swear to God, they must have been up there for about 20 seconds before that screaming shit started. 20 seconds. Already. So that's another example of, yeah, another psyop. Just bizarre behavior. Another psyop. So those are the most recent incidents of like gang stalking, mind game stuff. Like that's over the last 3 days. So again, it seems minor, but like when it comes to gang stalking, the terror is in the details. They terrorize you through the details. That's how they terrorize you. So with all that in mind, let's get to Wicked for Good. Okay? Now, a lot of people usually start off on a positive note and start talking about what they liked about the movie. Now, because I love the movie, I'm going to start off actually with what wasn't good about it. The first thing is that the Dorothy thing kind of upset me, because I think the film really suffered a bad case of faithfulness to the source material. I feel like it was too faithful to the musical in not showing Dorothy. Spoiler alert, sorry. I feel like the film in not showing Dorothy was just way too faithful to the source material. I think Dorothy should have been shown. I think the Cowardly Lion, like the interplay between the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion should have been shown. And I'll get into Brock in a minute. I'll get into the Tin Man in a minute, because God, that was so well done. Okay, let me just, I'm sorry. Talking about what I didn't like. I don't like that Dorothy was not seen properly. I don't like that she was not incorporated into the movie. Now, I know that the movie was already long, but it's like they sacrificed character development for some of the songs and the musical numbers and things like that. I felt like so much more could have been done with Dorothy as another angle of how heroism and villainy really are in the eyes of the beholder. Do you understand what I mean? I really feel like there's something, they could have done something more with that. I feel like the Cowardly Lion was a disappointment. Coleman Domingo, like, if you're gonna use Coleman fucking Domingo, like, use him for something. Like, and he's a good singer. I think he's a really good singer, isn't he? Like, I haven't heard him sing, but I think I think he can sing, right? So you got Coleman fucking Domingo in the movie, and you're not gonna use him like that. I hated that. I hated that the lion wasn't used enough. And I hated that we didn't see the scarecrow nearly enough. And I needed more of the Tin Man. Oh my God. I needed more of the fucking Tin Man. The Tin Man was fucking lit. So there wasn't enough. Dorothy should have been shown. I don't care. If it's in the book, it should have been in the movie. Dorothy should have been shown. Like the scarecrow, Tin Man, all of that should have been shown. Can you imagine how much more dynamic the movie would have been if you'd have incorporated the scarecrow and all the machinations going on with Elphaba, and then you got the Tin Man and like all his rage and anger, and you got the Cowardly Lion who's kind of like in between like the scarecrow and the Tin Man. Like, oh my God, it would have been so lit. It would have been so lit. And then you have Dorothy in the middle. She's just a scared kid. She doesn't know what the fuck's going on because of Madame Marble and Glinda and their bullshit. Landed Dorothy in this situation where she was blamed for something that was essentially wasn't her fault. She was made to fix something that had nothing to do with her. She was, brought into, to kind of solve problems that have been caused by fascism. So this little girl was brought into a whole like complex situation that she didn't need to be in. Showing Dorothy would have been incredible. I would have loved that, but they didn't show her. They did not show her, and it pissed me off. I hated that part of the movie. So that's one of the things I didn't like about the movie. Didn't show Dorothy. Why? Such a waste. Such a waste. Not enough, second thing, not enough scarecrows. The scarecrow thing would have been so beautifully done, so rich. Wasn't explored. Tin Man. Oh, fucking Tin Man. The potential of the Tin Man. Oh, it's so good. The reveal of the Tin Man, it was so good. And then the Cowardly Lion. You got Coleman, the man Domingo up in there, and you didn't use him at all. Like, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off right now. So those are 4 things that I didn't like about the movie. Another thing that I didn't like was it felt like it was the film was meant to be about Elphaba, right? Now, I'm kind of torn because I really liked the backstory that I got with Galinda, and the complexity of her emotions and how much she loves power and how much she loves that people, it's not the fact that people like her that she likes, it's the power that she likes. And exploring that relationship with power and exploring how she wishes that she could lead a more authentic life. I actually really did like that. I liked the fact that Galinda became complex. I actually started liking Galinda. Towards the end of the movie, I really started liking that character. I hated her character in the first movie, and I only really warmed up to her after she warmed up to Elphaba. But by the end of Wicked for Good, I really started liking her character, and I really thought, yeah, beautifully done. I really like Galinda as a character now. but I wish there was more Elphaba. I wanted to see more Elphaba, and I wanted Elphaba to learn her lesson as well. But coming back to that, the movie is about Elphaba, and I feel like because of the incorporation of Ariana Grande as Glinda, I feel like more emphasis was put on her. And the song, honestly, that Ariana Grande came up with, not gonna lie, a touch better than some of the original songs. A touch better than some of the original songs, because it sounded like it actually had some thought behind it. But I still wanted to see more Elphaba. Like, I know about, like, we already know about the privilege. We already know about their story. We already know about where she's coming from. We know about all that. I want to see more of, like, you know, the alliances that Elphaba created, all of that stuff. I wanted to see more of that. The movie should have centered Elphaba, and in particular her relationship with Dorothy. And I think that's probably why the Dorothy arc was sacrificed so much. It was because more emphasis was put on Galinda and her friendship with Elphaba, rather than Elphaba and her relationship to structural power and her relationship to the world around her. So even though I really do like Galinda as a character, and I like where they went with her, still didn't like that. I didn't like that there was so much emphasis on Galinda, because the whole time I'm sitting there, Ariana Grande, her voice was so beautiful, her performance was so beautiful. It, like, I love her voice. I love how far she's come as a singer. But I wanted to see more of Elphaba's story, because that's what this was about. It was about the plight of marginalized people and how they relate to structural power. I like glitter and wealth porn and beautiful people as much as the next person. But I went to see that movie for Elphaba. That's who I went to see that movie for. And I didn't feel like there was enough of her. And when there was, and when she was present, it felt like she'd become kind of static as a character, and she hadn't really moved forward all that much. In fact, all the characters seemed kind of weird, honestly. All the characters seemed kind of weird. So I didn't like that. I didn't like that, you know, there wasn't enough emphasis on Elphaba. Nessa's story was really interesting. The Nessa and Bok thing was really interesting, but goddamn. Another part of that is that there were so many wonderful ideas, but they weren't executed properly. And the reason I feel like the ideas weren't executed properly is because it was so fucking rushed, bro. Everything was so rushed, and it was like, I can't remember what it's called, where Idiot Ball, that's what it's called. So because the story is being rushed, right, a lot of these characters in Wicked for Good are kind of past the idiot ball back and forth, right? Elphaba got the idiot ball. Elfie and Glinda got the idiot ball when they were in front of the wizard. No, actually, that wasn't the only time. But a lot of these characters, in order to move the story forward, are relegated towards being stupider than they actually are. Do you understand what I mean? Like, there are too many examples to go into, but it's like, because the storyline is being rushed, like, we've got to get this out as quickly as possible. We cannot have these people sitting in here for 3 hours. A lot of the ideas that should have been explored weren't explored, and instead they were replaced with extended musical numbers. And again, they were kind of replaced with these characters making stupid decisions. They felt almost deliberately stupid, just to be able to move the story along. Fierro, I'm not even going to go into, because Fierro just got weird. Like, this was like a 5-year period. Like, how does this guy not know by now how to maneuver the armed guards to make sure that Elphaba was safe? Like, how does he not know how to do that? How does he not know how to be a political player at this point? It's been a 5-year jump. How did Elphaba not learn anything? How did Galinda not learn anything? How did Fierro not learn anything? How did, like, even the wizard and fucking Madame Morrible didn't seem to learn anything. Actually, no. Madame Morrible seemed to be the only person who learned a goddamn thing in this entire movie. Right? Or in this entire series. Like, nobody seemed to learn anything. And I don't want to spoil too much. You'll know when you go to see the movie. But everybody made, like, deliberately stupid decisions in order to move the story forward. And it was frustrating. The fifth thing that I didn't like about the movie is that I don't think the songs were that good. I think in comparison to the first movie, the second movie, like, the second movie or the second part of Wicked didn't really seem to know what it was doing. And the writing was clumsy. It's Steven Schwartz, man. Like, he's been writing bangers, but it's like, there's a clumsiness to how some of these songs came out. And it's just like, I mean, Cynthia Erivo saved them. And Ariana Grande saved them. Saved those songs big time, because, baby, those performances, let me tell you something, right? So the leads definitely saved those songs for fucking sure, okay? And Jonathan Bailey, I think that's his name, Jonathan Bailey, killed it. Killed it, right? So the songs were kind of clumsier in comparison to the first one. The first one already had, like, clumsy songs. But, like, the second movie, like, the songs were clumsier. And, but again, Cynthia Erivo's performance. Jesus Christ, she's so fucking good. She's so fucking good. And Ariana Grande is so fucking good. Oh! If it wasn't for them, I swear to God, this movie would have just flatlined. If it wasn't for them. They fucking carried. Okay? But then again, everybody tried their best and brought their A game. Like, apart from Michelle Yeoh, but that's another story. But yeah, the songs were kind of clumsy. That's the fifth thing I didn't like about it. Sixth thing was Michelle Yeoh. I love Michelle Yeoh as an actress. But when it came to Madame Morrible, it's like she brought a subdued performance like in the first movie. In the first movie, she brought a more subdued performance. And I liked it. And everybody said that, okay, poor Michelle can't sing. But I liked hearing her sing, though. She can't sing, but she had like she has a pleasant voice to listen to. She's not a singer, but she has a pleasant voice to listen to. And, her performance, I liked her performance in the first movie. But it seemed like from the way Michelle performed, Madame Morrible. From the way she performed Madame Morrible, it seemed like she really didn't understand Madame Morrible in a way, and didn't really understand the source material. Now, Michelle's an intelligent woman. Ain't no stupid people on that cast. That's not. It's not a question of whether or not you have the intellectual capacity. That's not what this is. But sometimes when you perform a piece of art, there's a difference between understanding it intellectually, which I think Michelle absolutely does, and understanding it creatively. I think where Michelle Yeoh was concerned, she didn't understand Madame Morrible creatively. She understood the concept of Madame Morrible. She understood what type of person Madame Morrible was meant to be. She understood that, but she didn't understand at an emotional, resonant level what Madame Morrible was meant to be. I don't think she really understood the source material she was a part of, because I don't think musical theatre is Michelle Yeoh's thing. And I think the reason why she was there is because John M. Chu liked her, or John M. Chu likes her. I fucking like her. It's Michelle fucking Yeoh. I like her. It's Michelle Yeoh. Are you kidding me? She's a fucking legend. It's Michelle fucking Yeoh. I like her. But like, I think that was the only reason she's there as Madame Morrible, is because it's Michelle Yeoh. And if you don't like it, like, I feel the same way, like, about, well, not about Jeff Goldblum, but like, I feel the same way about Coleman Domingo that I feel about Michelle Yeoh. If you don't like Michelle Yeoh, the problem is you. Like, I'm so sorry. If you don't like Michelle Yeoh, the problem is you. It's like, as a person, sure, but as an actress, yeah, the problem's you if you don't like her. But in this particular role, I don't think she gets it. I don't think she really gets it. I think she, again, on an intellectual, like, cognitive level, I think she understands. She gets it. She's an actress. She knows what she's supposed to do. She knows her lines. She meets her mark. But she doesn't get the source material. She doesn't get it. And it comes across in her performance. So, yeah, that was another thing that I didn't like about it. My list of complaints are actually quite long. I don't necessarily like how rushed the development was with Elphaba and Fiyero, right? Like, don't jump into having an affair just because Galinda accused you of it. If you're going to have an affair, have an affair. If you're going to be a shitty person, be a shitty person. Like, it's one of those things with kids' movies that that people tend to do, is they tend to incorporate adult themes, but they don't commit to those adult themes, right? It's like, because Fiyero had carried a torch for Elphaba all this time, when Fiyero protects Elphaba, Galinda assumes that he had an affair with Elphaba. Now, granted, Fiyero has been emotionally cheating on Galinda with her best friend. Galinda has every right to be angry, right? But the way it was played, it was like, in order to make Elphaba look not that bad a person, it was like, you know, oh, you know, because they didn't have an affair. Elphaba didn't even know Fiyero was on her side. So it was like, you know, Glinda said, oh, you know, you've been having an affair behind my back. And Elphaba's like, no, we wouldn't do that. Next scene, clapping cheeks. Like, go all the way, commit. If you're going to have Elphaba cheat with Fiyero, have her cheat with Fiyero. If you're going to have her not cheat with Fiyero, have her not cheat with Fiyero. Or if you're going to have them have a relationship, like, have more of a slow burn about it. Don't rush the shit. Do you understand what I mean? You don't fucking, you know, break Glinda's heart and then cut to fucking Elphaba and fucking Fiyero screaming in each other's faces before they bang. Like, don't do that. Like, just commit to the flaws and complexities that you want Elphaba to have, right? You commit to Galinda's complexity. Why can't you commit to Elphaba's complexity? You know who was done the most dirty? You know who was done the most dirty? Fiyero. Actually, it's a toss-up between Fiyero and the Wizard of Oz. Because the Wizard of Oz, like, there was so much potential with him because of Jeff Goldblum's performance. There was so much fucking potential with him. And then on top of that, you know, this uncanny valley thing, it's like, where is he? Where is his head at? Like, how does he, because we know he's smart. We know he gets it. We know he's switched on. We know he's an evil man. But does he think he's an evil man? Does he like think he's, you know, that the animals deserve what they, we don't know enough about him. And it's weird because we've seen him do so much and yet we know nothing about him. I don't know about that person. I don't know who the Wizard of Oz is. But Fiyero was so weird. Oh my God. Fiyero, the way Fiyero was done so fucking dirty by this movie. Like, they didn't commit to his complexity either. They just rushed everything. They rushed Elphaba. They rushed Fiyero. Galinda was the only character that I feel like anybody took their time with, that John M. Chu took their time with, that the writers took their time with. Galinda's character was the only one they took their time with. That's the thing I fucking hate. Hate it. The whole thing was rushed otherwise. Right? And another thing that bothered me was, you know, like when Elphaba went to say goodbye to her sister, you know, because her sister had been crushed by the house. We got Elphaba's prophecy of it. Again, the film was too faithful to the source material. They didn't do enough with the visuals. Like, we got a glimpse of like a house and Nessa and like looking for Bok or something. And then the house collapsed and I'm like, oh. And then when she went to see her sister, it's like she didn't even feel anything. Like she went to say goodbye to her sister. And then fucking Glinda and Elphaba having that slap fight after the fact. Like, you know, Elphaba's going to say goodbye to her sister. Like, girl, Glinda thinks that Elphaba had an affair behind her back. And Elphaba thinks that Glinda killed her sister. They should have been fucking beating the brakes off each other. This fight should have been vicious. It should have been a vicious ass fight. Instead, we got jokes about Elphaba's cackle. I ain't joking about nobody's cackle. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you cheated on, you cheated on me with the man that I love, and then on top of that, I've killed your sister. I'm not making no jokes about your fucking cackle right now. This is a serious situation. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing about these kids' movies. They don't commit to the emotional impact. They don't commit, right? So it was a disappointment the way they handled that. The way they handled everything. Nessa Rose wasn't explored richly enough. And Nessa Rose, there was such an interesting thing that could have happened with Nessa Rose. Oh. And then the magic. Oh, the magic. You know what? I'm biased. But I don't think enough was done with the Grimmery either. I don't think enough was done with the Grimmery. So, you know, I have a long list of complaints about that movie, actually. I'm actually surprised. But this is the thing with me. Like, what I notice is that I like sequels more than some of the original movies, but the sequels are not as good as the original. And this is one of those cases where I absolutely love the sparkly dust out of Wicked for Good. But in comparison to Wicked Part 1, it is not good. Not intentional. But yeah. It's not good in comparison to the first movie, but I like this movie more. I can't explain it. Maybe I can. This is where I go into the good parts of the movie. First of all, Glinda. The complexity of her character was more fleshed out. I really appreciated it. It was beautiful. I liked seeing where Elphaba and where Galinda lived. Both of them lived in really beautiful places. And I liked that, you know, how those things were explored. You know, I like all that, and I truly started understanding Galinda more. And I'm gonna get into all that in a minute. I'm gonna get into Galinda in a minute. But I liked Glinda's exploration of her character. Ariana Grande's performance as Glinda was so good. It was so good. Bowen Yang as Fanny. I hated that character in both movies, but Bowen Yang as Fanny fucking killed. He was funny. He was funny. I hated him, but he was funny. Yeah. But Bowen Yang as Fanny, yeah. Yep. He was cooking. I liked, you know, Glinda was a big part of why I liked Wicked for Good. A big part of why I liked it. I liked the fact that we got to see Dulcibella again. I really liked that. I liked how the animals were kind of basically cutting their losses and they were just moving on. And, you know, I liked that whole, you know, exploration of why Elphaba fights for what she fights for. Because, you know, again, this is a big world and we all deserve to live in it, is basically her point. I liked the fact that we got to see more of the animals. I like that the animals treated her, well, they didn't treat her kindly, but they weren't afraid of her. They actually engaged with her. What I don't like is that they immediately believed the Cowardly Lion, because, like, why would they immediately believe him? They've known that woman for 5 years, and all it takes is some shivering lion from behind the bushes to say, don't believe her, and suddenly 5 years of the relationship that you've been with her, built with her, goes out the window. Oh God, I'm straying into the negatives again. But I like the animals. I like the incorporation of the animals. I like that some of them are still free and some of them can still talk. One part of the movie that I really liked was Elphaba's rage when she saw the animals being trapped. And I felt something in my bones here, and I really hoped that she would go darker. But she doesn't. She doesn't go darker. It's just a whole thing. And you know, I really liked the animals. I liked Glinda. I liked you know, Fanny as Bowen Yang. The performances of both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were carrying this whole movie. I'm sorry to say it, but they were carrying this whole movie. Ariana Grande's voice. Ariana Grande has never been the best at diction, but her voice is beautiful. She has a beautiful voice. Ariana Grande is one of those people who have always been good at what they do. There's a difference between somebody who's gifted and somebody who's talented. Somebody with a gift has natural talent flowing from out of them. They have it in their bones. They have it in their, you know what I mean? Somebody with talent works hard and perseveres at what they do. They have a passion for it. And they work so hard. They put everything into their craft to the point where genius is created. And I feel like Ariana Grande belongs in the latter camp. I feel like she is truly talented. And a lot of people think that, you know, she's spoiled and whatever. I'm like, yeah, she's spoiled. She appears to be a spoiled person. She's also somebody that is incredibly dedicated to her craft as a singer. And you can tell in the way that she sings. Every single time I heard her sing, I was lost. I was so lost. And I never wanted to be found. I really never wanted to be found. I could have listened to Ariana Grande sing for 5 more hours. Right? And then Cynthia Erivo, don't even get me started on, please. Cynthia Erivo, please. Don't get me started. Cynthia Erivo is fucking gifted. Okay? She works hard at what she does. Yes, she works very hard at singing and all that. No, she is a fucking gifted singer. I don't care what anybody says. Second to none. Second to none. I cried multiple times at her singing during songs that ordinarily I would not have liked. I was bawling like a baby several times hearing that woman sing. She was a tour de force. Like, oh, these women, the talent of these women. The talent of these women. I have never heard any Wicked song, because I haven't seen the stage play, but I had been watching live performances of Elphaba and Galinda. What Ariana Grande and what Cynthia Erivo brought to the table, I don't know if it will ever be able to be duplicated, especially Cynthia Erivo. They were both incredible in their roles. And the part that really hit me the most was how much love there genuinely was between the two characters. And I think the reason why there's so much love there is because Cynthia and Ariana Grande seem to really like each other. And I feel like that kind of carried forward into the movie. And ordinarily that'd be a bad thing, but I don't think it was a bad thing here. I think it really added to the movie that the unconditional love between these two could not be broken. And that, you know, that not even a man could get in the way of that. I love that for the both of them. And it was, you know, I feel like the first movie, Wicked, Part 1, was an exploration of power and where it comes from. It was an exploration of Galinda as a powerful force and Elphaba as a powerful force, and where that power actually comes from, like different types of power, you know. But I feel like Wicked for Good was more about love and what people become when love enters the equation. You know, for a long time, both Elphaba and Galinda had power. But because love didn't enter the equation yet, or love was only just starting to enter the equation when they met each other, the way they used their power, it wasn't working, because it was like, yeah, love had to enter the equation for that power to mean something. And I think the love in Glinda's heart for Elphaba, not even Fiyero, Elphaba, created this cognitive dissonance that actually allowed Glinda to actually have some magical ability, whereas the love in Elphaba's heart allowed her to abandon, you know, not abandon the magic, but abandon her need for magic as a crutch. Like, love caused her to abandon magic as a crutch and instead just embrace her own magic as a person. Do you understand what I mean? So it's like, you know, for Elphaba, being loved means being seen. And that was all she needed. All she needed was to be seen. Fiyero saw her, like, when Fiyero showed up to get Elphaba, that wrecked me. He really saw her. And that was such a beautiful part of the movie. I'm not going to spoil it too much. But Fiyero saw her from the beginning. When you're seen, it changes you. And Glinda was seen also, but she was seen in a way that made her realize that all the love she was given was really power, and it was really lies. And it was only when somebody was willing to be honest with her that she finally saw what love was. So I feel like it was, you know, Wicked for Good, the movie as a concept, I feel like it was about love. And as much as the ending feels kind of unrealistic, I mean, it's not, and I'll explain why in a minute. As much as the ending feels rushed, because I truly feel like the people who write these movies don't really believe in the happy endings, and that's why they rush them. And that's why they don't write them properly, because they don't believe in the endings that they're writing. Okay, so I think that Wicked for Good, there wasn't faith, like the writing didn't believe in the ending. The writing didn't believe in, you know, in the ending that Elphaba got or the ending that Glinda got. It didn't believe in the ending. But I liked the ending. I liked the fact that in the end, love kind of won out, but it won out in ways that didn't feel neat. It didn't feel like, you know, Elphaba got everything and Glinda got nothing, or, you know, Glinda and Elphaba were equals or what have you. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like the scales were balanced for the sake of it. It felt, in a way, kind of satisfying conceptually, even if it wasn't satisfying in the way that it played out. Conceptually, the way the movie played out was incredibly satisfying for me anyway. And, you know, again, the performances, beautiful. Could have been written better, but I actually enjoyed it more than the first movie. And this seems to be a pattern for me. I always enjoy the worser movies more. Help? Like, what the fuck's going on? The same thing happened with the X trilogy. Like, Pearl was by and far the best fucking movie out of the trilogy. Which of the trilogy did I enjoy more? Maxine. Maybe I'm a sucker for happy endings. I don't know. But I enjoyed Maxine more than Pearl. And I enjoyed Wicked for Good more than Wicked, even though Wicked was a better movie. By far the better movie. Okay. But yes, I liked the concept of the ending. I liked the ideas that were floated around in Wicked for Good, even though they could have been executed better. I did like the ideas. I liked the performances. I liked Glinda's complexity. I by the end of the movie, I started liking Glinda herself because I love that character now. Now I saw why Ariana Grande loved her. So now I'm going to get into the concepts of Wicked and why it felt resonant with me. Now, when I first saw the movie, when I saw the first movie, I was in London and I was by myself because I usually go to the cinemas by myself. And you know, during the movie, I'm getting to a point, I promise. During the movie, I was vocally responding to the movie, even though it was basically, I was there by myself, right? And at the end of the movie, one of the kids in the back said I was mad. And it almost ruined the experience for me, almost. Because that was a tag that had been following me. Thanks to Gangstalking, it had been following me from London to here. And, you know, again, the truth of the matter is I'm just neurodivergent. But because people don't like me, they make me out to be crazier than I actually am. So that's what they've been doing. So it was triggering for me. So in the same way the first movie was triggering for me, I was reminded of the same treatment that Elphaba got in the first movie with those children in the back saying what they were saying. And it also hit me that you just watched a 2 to 3 hour movie on why treating people like that is wrong. And yet that as soon as the movie ended, you went right back to treating people like that. Based on what? Somebody responding audibly to the movie. What? Because they were talking? It's a movie. So it just went to show that when it came to the movie itself, people didn't really learn anything from it. It was just emotional catharsis, like I said before, because like, why would you sit through a 2 to 3 hour movie being told how not to treat people and then you go and treat people like that? You obviously didn't learn anything. And what I realized is that Elphaba's experience in the first movie, it very much mirrored my own. Because in London, like I was called the mad girl. First of all, by my dad's neighbors. You know, they do some other shit now. But they called me the mad girl, got their friends to do that, got everybody to do that, when really what they were doing were they were just terrorizing a neurodivergent person into a mental breakdown. And they were bragging about it, and they were tripling down to the point where they got me evicted, and they kind of did. But everything that Elphaba kind of went through, I went through as well. And it was so funny how many parallels there were between that movie and my own life at the time. So it was like, when I walked out that cinema, again, I understand about how like psyops work. I get how the public are manipulated. But when I walked out that movie, it was very, very clear to me that there was some resonance with my own life here. Like I was, you know, I left London because I was surrounded by people who were oddly enough neurodivergent and mentally ill themselves. But because it was me and because I was a targeted individual, not even because I was black, because it was mostly black people doing it, but it was just like, because I was neurodivergent in a way that I couldn't really hide like that, and I couldn't really mask properly, I was kind of, I felt like there was a lot of criticism bombarded on me in particular in a way that felt like a blood sport. And that's before gang stalking even entered the equation. With gang stalking, it just got 1,000 times worse. So everything that I went through in London, it kind of mirrored, like the movie, the first part of Wicked, it seemed to mirror what I was going through in London. And I feel like me moving out of my father's house was me moving out of my mother's house, me being kicked out of my mother's house was my shiz university. Do you understand? I feel like my shiz university, it started at my father's house, because that's when I started going to uni. That's when I started learning about gang stalking. That's when I started learning about all of these things. But that's also when I started to find stuff that I was really interested in. That's when I kind of reacquainted myself with the occult. That's when I actually started learning about the tarot. I didn't start learning about the tarot until after I left my mum's house. It was in my dad's house at that time that I started learning about tarot, that I started learning more about astrology, that I started learning more about all of these things. And it was a slow burn too. It wasn't a quick thing. It wasn't a quick thing. It was a slow burn. It was after I entered my shiz university, which was my dad's house. It was after I entered that place that's when I started learning more about myself, that my talents, more attention was being paid to my talents, because I started singing backing for my dad on his music. So it mirrored Elphaba in a lot of ways, because like dad saw my talent, tried to nurture my singing talent. He's still doing that now. So he saw my talent, tried to nurture my singing talent. I started learning more about, like, you know, the kind of stuff that I wanted to do with my life. I was learning more about, you know, I was like becoming reacquainted with musical theatre through Glee, even though Glee was a very triggering show for me. Like, I started learning more about myself through going to my dad's house, and my talent started coming out. But at the same time that was happening, I was being bombarded with the gang stalking thing. Like that's where it all happened. It all happened when I moved into my dad's. That's when this whole thing happened, right? And along the way, whilst my gifts were coming out, whilst I was learning to hone my talents more, whilst I was becoming more acquainted with the occult, even though at the same time I was also flirting around with being a Jehovah's Witness, like all of that self-discovery happened from the time I moved into my dad's. And then after I moved out of my dad's, that's when I really started finding out who I was, when I had to live on my own. And I started finding out where my strengths were, where my weaknesses were, what gang stalking, the tactics that gang stalking employed, like how cameras worked, how fucking surveillance worked, like what kind of cameras my neighbors were using, like what they were looking at on their laptops, like all of that type of stuff. All of that is Elphaba shit. Because if it wasn't for my mum and what she did, and if it wasn't for like the neighbors and what they did, if it wasn't for the women in my life, whether they be related to me or whether they be my dad's neighbors trying to be on this Billy Big Bollock shit, if it wasn't for them, I would never have learned about the occult. I would never have learned about tarot. I would never have learned about any of these things. I would have been stagnant. I would have never have learned how to use my voice either. So everything that I went through was a baptism of fire that built not only my talents and my gifts, but it built my character. And that is exactly what Elphaba went through in that fucking movie. And it's only now just hitting me that I actually am indeed Elphaba. It only just fucking hit me. Because my pain and my neurodivergence came out in a way that made other people feel uncomfortable, just like the Wizard of Oz's need to alleviate the pain in his own life manifested in a pain that Elphaba couldn't avoid, her green skin. Everybody piled on Elphaba because of how her pain was literally written on her skin. Just like my pain was literally all over the shop because I was vocalizing it for hours sometimes. But that was behind closed doors, right? So like the fucking mirror between my life and Elphaba's was fucking crazy. It was fucking crazy. And ironically, if it wasn't for the bullying, just like with Elphaba, if it wasn't for Elphaba being bullied and Elphaba being mistreated and her coming from two different worlds, like I come from two different worlds, if it wasn't for all of that, she would never have had her magical power. And that same power that she had, that, you know, that her father treated as a problem, the same power that I have that was seen as a problem, as soon as I started going out and making it by myself and finding out how the real world worked, suddenly all the things that were supposed to go against me as a person, they became the things that actually empowered me. The parallels are fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And like the parallels are nuts. And then we get into Wicked for Good. Spoiler alert. I know I said I wasn't going to put any spoilers. I don't want to reveal the whole movie. But spoiler alert, right? Elphaba faked to death. Elphaba faked to death. And Fiyero came and got her. And they left us together. So love in Elphaba's life caused her to finally choose herself and leave. Leave Oz. See what else was out there for her. Which is exactly what the fuck I did 5 years ago. 5 years ago in July. I left London because I chose myself. Because, you know, and the way I chose myself was strange, because I chose myself not because of a guy, even though, you know, I know somebody whose parent lives here. The irony was I didn't leave because of a man. I didn't even leave because of a woman. I left because of me. And it was all because I felt the need to stand by what I said. I said I was going to move out, and all of this was because I said I was going to do something and I felt like I should do it. That's why I'm here right now. Love was the reason I left London. I'm only just realizing that shit. Love was the reason I left London. Love for myself was the reason I left London. Just like Elphaba's love for herself, which was augmented, reinforced by Fiyero, was why she left Oz. and left that life behind, left Oz behind, which exactly mirrored my own life. And ironically, I'm actually learning more about the occult now than I did when I was, when I was back at my dad's, learning more about it now. But I'm happy. I'm happier now than I was before all the chaos happened, before I was the mad girl of Harlesden, before my neurodivergence was weaponized against me by people who were less emotionally functioning than I was. I'm happier now than before all of that chaos took place. And I'm a literal TI. Sometimes I feel like if that didn't happen, would I have the strength of character that I have now? Would I be in a position where I'm able to actually enjoy myself in spite of everything that gang stalking is doing to me? Would I be in this position now? Probably not. Probably not. I don't want to give gang stalking credit because I didn't consent to any of this vile, fucking, nasty human trafficking shit. I didn't consent to any of it. But maybe my way of handling the situation is what got me here. I have love in my life. The gang stalkers didn't want me to, because they thought that love was about having people, and that love is about having dick riders, and love is about having people who will always agree with you no matter what. All that ever does is just set you up for failure. All that ever does is set you up for failure. Like, love is not just about being spoiled. Love is about being seen. Love is about being understood. And I left London all those years ago because there was somebody who finally saw me. Me. And I'm still not done yet. And we have another 5-year cycle. I can't remember how long I lived at my dad's for. I think I moved in like 2006 or something. No, I think it was almost, I think I've been living at my dad's almost like, okay, I can't remember when I moved out of mum's. I think it was 2006, around 2006, that time there. That I moved in with my dad, and I think it was like almost 10 years that I moved out of there. Because I remember moving in there in 2015, August 2015. But, yeah, it was a 5-year cycle, so that's how these things operate in gang stalking. Maybe even the government operates like that. They only let you live somewhere for 5 years before they move you on. Even though these landlords have been trying to stop me from leaving. But, yeah, here I am, another 5-year cycle. Another 5-year cycle, about to move on again, about to find something new. I don't actually want to leave, but I know that I have to do it. I have to do it. I don't want to do it, but I do have to do it. Because you've got to keep your word. You've got to keep your word. It doesn't matter what the situation is. You've got to keep your word to yourself. You've got to be present for yourself. And again, I was told that it was important to keep your word because, again, people like to make a blood sport out of hurting me. People needed to hurt me to regulate their nervous system. So when I was told these things, like, you got to keep your word, you got to be honest, you got to be this, you got to be that, that was to hurt me. It wasn't to help me. It was to hurt me and control me. But now I understand the importance of keeping your word. Because it's not just about proving something to yourself. It's not just about proving something to other people. It's also about giving yourself a break. It's about not hating yourself. For instance, if I say to myself, I got to clean this place up, I got to clean this place up, or like, let's just say in my mind, place is a mess right now, and I say to myself, I'm going to clean this place up. And then my neurodivergent brain does what it does, and it starts procrastinating. Every time I say I'm going to do this and I don't do it, how am I going to feel? What kind of vibration does that send out? What kind of vibration does that send out? And how does it make me feel emotionally when I keep saying that I'm going to do shit and then I don't do it? I'm going to hate myself, no? I'm not going to like myself for it. So my thing is this, unless I've already decided to do something, I just don't say what I'm going to do. And it's as simple as that. When you do that, you give yourself a break. You stop your brain from being like, oh, I should do this, I should do this, I said I would. Like, no, unless you've already decided to do something, shut up. Because otherwise you're just giving yourself a hard time. You're just giving yourself a hard time. Yeah? Just don't say you're going to do something unless you've already decided. That way nobody can fucking sabotage it, including you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And, you know, it's yeah. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I left for love. I left Brighton for love, for the love of myself. No, I didn't leave Brighton, not yet. But I left London for the love of myself. I left London for love. I came to Brighton for love. And I thought at the time that it was for romantic love at first. Because I'm thinking to myself, imagine, if you can imagine, right? When I came here, I was homeless when I came here, staying in a boarding house. I was homeless. I got hit on 3 times. I was homeless. I want to say that again. I was homeless. I got hit on 3 fucking times the first day I landed here. So I'm over here thinking to myself, oh, you know, I must be here for romantic love. No, that wasn't it. That was not it. I was here for the love of me and who I am as a person. And it's not as dopamine filled. It's not as juicy. It's not as exciting. It's not as romantic. But it is healthier. So my life kind of mirrored Elphaba's in a way. She found love and she let that be her deciding factor. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I felt about the Wicked movie, the Wicked for Good movie. It wasn't good, but I actually liked it more than the first one. It's not good, though. It's not good. It's not good at all. But I loved it. And I'm glad I saw it. Might even see it again, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I am Elphaba. Fucking hell. Never thought I would say that. Never thought I would say that. I am definitely Elphaba. I'm definitely her. And I never thought I would say that shit, but here we are. But this is what I realize about a lot of people who watch that movie. Coming back to that example of that kid, that kid in the London cinema. What I realize is that a lot of people think that they're Elphaba or Glinda. But the truth is that there are very few people who are like Elphaba. There are very few people who have her fire, who have her conviction, who have her willingness to turn her pain into power. A lot of us don't have that. A lot of us don't have courage. A lot of us do not have the integrity. A lot of us do not have you know, stuff that we believe in like that. Like a lot of us don't do that. A lot of us don't have that. So we're not, a lot of us are not alphabet. I'm alphabet. I can say that shit, but a lot of people can't. And there are a lot of people who think they are Galinda or Glinda. I saw like a think piece that said that Megyn Kelly was Glinda. And I'm like, no. Megyn Kelly is a ruthless sociopath. Glinda has actual kindness. She has tenderness. She has love. She has empathy. The whole reason she started lying to people in the first place is because she didn't want to disappoint anybody. The whole reason why she wants to lift people's spirits is because she cares about people's spirits. She cares about the world that she lives in. It's not just a one-sided thing for her. Okay? A lot of people are not Galinda at all. We can compare her to the other white blondes in media in real life. They are not her. They do not fucking care. She cares. She cares. She just has self-control. A lot of us are not Glinda either. I used to think I was a Glinda. No, I don't have her self-control. She has self-control. She has measurement. She measures her behavior. She thinks before she does something. She's always thinking of the long term. She's always thinking of strategy. She cares about people, but she's always thinking about strategy. And the whole reason she even lied about Alphabet at the end of the movie was because Alphabet asked her to. Okay. So we're not Galinda either. We're not Glinda. Let's not get that shit twisted either. Okay? You know who we really are? We're Bok. We're the Cowardly Lion. Even we can't even say we're Nessa Rose for real. We're not Nessa Rose. We are the Aussians. We're the dumb, panicky, dangerous idiots who need someone to blame for everything that's gone wrong in our lives. We're the Aussians. We're the ones who make the wrongful decisions. And then when the consequences of those wrongful decisions rear their ugly heads, we double down on that same behavior. We are the Aussians. We are the ones led by a nose. We are the ones who don't investigate anything because we're hungry and we're scared and we're angry. We are the ones who don't think. We are the ones who let ourselves be led by the nose even when we know better because we don't want to know better. We want to be safe. We want to be comfortable. We want to eat. We want to drink. We want to be warm. We want to survive. We don't want to think better. We don't want to know better. We don't want to do better. We just want to be safe. So a lot of people comparing themselves to Alphabet and Galinda. The kid who called me mad in the Odeon system, I think it was Cineworld actually. The kid who called me mad in the cinema in London, Aussian. The Gangstalkers who called me the mad girl for years, Aussians. The fucking Romanian family stalking me, spying on me through a fucking camera lens connected to their laptop, Aussians. The people upstairs from me right now, Aussians. Their friends, Aussians. Even people from Black Brighton Market, the people that I love round here, that I love the most, Aussians. Witnessed that firsthand, experienced that shit firsthand, Aussians. My family, Aussians. Don't get a damn thing twisted. Aussians, all of us, we are not Alphabet or Galinda. We need to get that out of our heads right now. Because we will straight up come out of them movies not learning a goddamned thing. Just needing emotional catharsis. Just needing emotional catharsis and needing to feel better about the decisions that we make about one another every day. We are Aussians, don't get it twisted. I'm a particular type of Aussie, and like I said before, I'm alphaba. My life is alphabean. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So it's... But most of us were Aussians, man. We're the fucking munchkins. We're the angry, scared, stupid, willing to double and triple down on the same behavior that brought us to disaster to begin with. That's who we are. And we get marginalized people hurt first because, again, we need that to regulate our nervous system, because God forbid we should take responsibility for our behavior and what we've done and what we've landed ourselves in. And as for me keeping my word has allowed me to love myself. Yes, that's true. But it's also an act of self-defense. I'm smart enough to know that this world wants to hurt me. And it wants to hurt me bad. And it wants to double and triple down on that behavior to regulate its nervous system. I understand that. I understand that the world is the problem, and it always has been the fucking problem, and it always will be the fucking problem. But hear what, right? This is another reason why I stick by my word and why I have to be everything that I say I am. Is because this world is going to hurt me. This world is going to kill me through the gangstalking. Maybe not now. Maybe not this early. Maybe not in my 40s. But this world will shorten my life. It already has. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to go through pain. I'm going to go through agony. So if I'm going to say and do anything, it has to be worth the pain that I'm going through. And that's the difference between alphaba and the Aussians. If I'm going to go through all this shit, it has to be worth it. It has to be worth it. And if I don't have integrity, then it's not worth it, is it? And that's a decision that a lot of people, regardless of demographic, they do not make every day. They make decisions based on survival, not rooted in who they are. Yeah. Simple things. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm very hungry. I need to eat. And also I need to drink because my throat dry. Yeah? So I'm going to go. I love you so much. Peace and blessings. And we will talk soon. Okay? Marsha the Grey out. Bye-bye, my darlings.